The Middle East woke up to chaos. Before sunrise, multiple explosions and drone alerts erupted across the region as Iran launched what many analysts are now calling a coordinated sneak attack targeting several countries at once. Air defense systems suddenly activated over the UAE. Kuwaiti forces scrambled after detecting hostile drones entering their airspace. Commercial ships near Qatar came under attack. And at the exact same time, Iranian submarines reportedly flooded the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important shipping lanes on Earth. But this is where things changed. As the attacks unfolded, mysterious explosions also began hitting locations inside Iran itself. Ports were shaken, fires erupted, military activity exploded across Iraq, and hidden details about a secret Israeli airbase deep inside Iraqi territory suddenly surfaced, adding an entirely new layer to the crisis. Now military aircraft are flooding into the region, U.S. forces are repositioning, and the fear of a much larger regional war is rapidly growing because what happened overnight may not have been a random escalation. It may have been the opening phase of something much bigger. The first signs of the attack appeared during the early hours of May 10th when air defense systems in the United Arab Emirates suddenly engaged multiple incoming drones launched from Iran. According to official statements from the UAE Ministry of Defense, the drones were intercepted before they could reach their intended targets. But the scale of the situation immediately raised alarms. Officials stated that since the beginning of the Iranian attacks, UAE defenses had already intercepted hundreds of ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and more than 2,000 drones throughout the conflict. The overnight drone wave appeared to be another phase in a growing regional pressure campaign. And the UAE was not alone. Almost simultaneously, Kuwait announced that its armed forces had detected hostile drones entering Kuwaiti airspace before dawn. Kuwaiti military officials confirmed that the drones were engaged according to emergency defense protocols, while the country's armed forces declared full readiness to protect national security. What happened next shocked analysts. These were not isolated incidents happening hours apart. The attacks appeared coordinated almost down to the minute. Multiple countries were suddenly dealing with aerial threats at the same time, creating the appearance of a carefully planned multi-front operation. Then came reports from the waters near Qatar. A large commercial cargo ship was struck, causing a fire on board. Images and early reports indicated heavy damage as crews attempted to contain the flames. According to regional monitoring sources, Iran had continued targeting commercial shipping, attempting to move through or near the Strait of Hormuz. That detail is critical. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most strategically important waterways in the world. A massive percentage of global oil shipments passes through that narrow corridor every single day. Any disruption there immediately raises fears of energy shocks, trade disruptions, and economic instability worldwide. But the real danger came later. U.S. Navy vessels operating in the region reportedly responded after Iranian attacks targeted ships moving through the area. In response, American forces launched major strikes along parts of the Iranian coastline connected to missile and naval operations. And while all of this was unfolding, new explosions suddenly began appearing inside Iran itself. Reports emerged from the port city of Chabahar near the Gulf of Oman, where loud blasts were heard across the area. Local media confirmed multiple explosions, but officials initially provided no clear explanation about what caused them. Then another major location was hit. Explosions were also reported in Bandar Abbas, one of Iran's most important naval and military ports. The location had already been targeted recently during earlier U.S. retaliatory strikes connected to attacks on naval forces. And this is where the strategy becomes clear. The conflict was no longer limited to isolated missile launches or proxy attacks. Instead, both sides appeared to be operating simultaneously across multiple fronts: air, sea, ports, logistics hubs, and shipping lanes, all while military aircraft and surveillance operations intensified throughout the region. Meanwhile, Iran publicly responded to a U.S.-backed proposal aimed at ending the conflict. Iranian state media indicated that Tehran's position focused almost entirely on ending active military operations, while refusing to negotiate on key strategic issues like uranium enrichment, ballistic missile programs, or regional proxy networks. That response immediately drew attention because it showed that even while discussions about ending the war were taking place, military escalation was still accelerating in real time. And then one more warning appeared. A senior commander from Iran's IRGC aerospace forces declared that Iranian missiles and drones were fully prepared and awaiting launch orders if needed. The message was unmistakable. Iran was negotiating publicly while simultaneously preparing for further escalation behind the scenes. As tensions exploded across the Middle East, attention quickly shifted toward one of the most dangerous developments of the entire crisis: Iran's submarine deployment inside the Strait of Hormuz. According to reports emerging on May 10th, Iran had begun flooding the waterway with its smaller Ghadir-class submarines. At first glance, these submarines may not seem especially powerful compared to larger naval vessels used by major global powers. They are relatively small, lightly crewed, and designed for short-range operations. But that is exactly what makes them dangerous. These submarines are built specifically for shallow water warfare inside narrow choke points like the Strait of Hormuz. They can carry torpedoes, and some versions are capable of launching cruise missiles. More importantly, they are extremely difficult to detect. And this is where things became far more serious. Unlike large warships that can be tracked more easily through satellites and surveillance aircraft, these small submarines are designed to disappear inside crowded shipping routes and coastal waters. Their purpose is not global naval warfare. Their purpose is disruption. Specifically, disruption of oil traffic and commercial shipping. Military analysts have warned for years that if Iran ever wanted to pressure global markets or retaliate against military strikes, one of the fastest ways would be targeting the Strait of Hormuz. Now that scenario appeared to be unfolding in real time. Satellite imagery from the region reportedly showed damaged tankers still burning and leaking oil after previous military engagements. The images reinforced fears that the waterway was becoming increasingly unstable and dangerous for civilian shipping. But then another shocking detail emerged. Reports surfaced that Israel had secretly established a hidden operational outpost deep inside western Iraq before the conflict escalated. According to reports citing U.S. officials, the covert installation had been built to support operations connected to Iran, including emergency rescue and refueling support for Israeli aircraft operating in the region. And then something unexpected happened. An Iraqi shepherd reportedly discovered the hidden installation. Soon afterward, Iraqi military forces began moving toward the area to investigate. That reportedly triggered Israeli airstrikes designed to force Iraqi units away from the position. According to the reports, at least one Iraqi soldier was killed during the confrontation. The revelation stunned many observers because it suggested that preparations for a much wider regional operation may have been underway long before the latest escalation became public, and military activity across Iraq only continued increasing afterward. Footage circulating online showed Apache helicopters flying over Baghdad while additional U.S. military aircraft operated throughout the region. Videos released by U.S. Central Command showed heavily armed F-18 fighter jets refueling midair as operations intensified. But the biggest sign of escalation was happening behind the scenes. An enormous military air bridge continued moving equipment, aircraft, and supplies from Europe into the Middle East. Transport planes and support aircraft were reportedly arriving continuously as regional military readiness expanded. And this is where the pressure starts building globally. Every movement inside the region now carries enormous consequences beyond the Middle East itself. Oil prices react instantly. Global markets become unstable. Shipping insurance costs rise. Military alliances begin repositioning forces because the fear is no longer just about isolated attacks. The fear is about miscalculation. One direct hit on a major oil facility, one submarine attack on a large tanker, or one missile strike causing mass casualties could rapidly pull multiple countries deeper into the conflict. And analysts are increasingly focused on one question. Was this coordinated escalation meant to test regional defenses, or was it designed to prepare for something even larger? Because the overnight attacks demonstrated something important. Iran showed it could pressure multiple fronts at the same time: airspace, shipping lanes, drones, missiles, naval disruption, and psychological pressure all together. And at the same time, Mysterious explosions inside Iran suggested its opponents were also carrying out operations designed to weaken Iranian infrastructure and military positioning, which means both sides are now signaling capability, and neither side appears willing to fully back down. As of now, the full consequences of the overnight escalation are still unfolding, but the immediate impact is already clear. Multiple countries across the Middle East were forced to activate air defense systems almost simultaneously. Commercial shipping routes near the Strait of Hormuz faced renewed threats. Fires erupted aboard damaged vessels. Military aircraft surged into the region, and naval tensions climbed dramatically within just a few hours. But the larger concern is what comes next. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the most critical economic choke points in the world. If attacks on shipping continue, global energy markets could react violently. Even temporary disruptions could affect oil prices, supply chains, and international trade far beyond the Middle East. And then there's the military side. Iran's use of smaller submarines creates an ongoing threat that is difficult to eliminate quickly. Unlike fixed missile launch sites, these submarines can move unpredictably through narrow waters, creating constant pressure on naval operations and commercial traffic. Meanwhile, the discovery of covert Israeli infrastructure inside Iraq reveals just how deep and complicated this conflict may already be behind closed doors, but this is where uncertainty grows. Both sides are still sending mixed signals. Publicly, there are discussions about ending the war. Quietly, military deployments continue expanding. More aircraft are arriving, more ships are repositioning, and regional forces remain on high alert, which means the situation could move in either direction very quickly, toward negotiations or toward a much larger regional confrontation. And right now, nobody truly knows which path comes next.